Welcome to Veteran Resource Podcast, where you will meet nonprofit organizations focused on improving the lives of veterans and their family members. Here is your host, Jeremy Paris.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 18 of the Veteran Resource Podcast. We have a great episode for you today. It is an interview with Dave Bray, the lead singer of Madison Rising, America's most patriotic rock band. The song that you are playing in the background right now is Madison Rising's rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. And at the end of the interview, I'm going to give you a full song by Madison Rising, and I'm also going to tell you how you can see the video for this song right after this interview. So make sure you stick around after the interview for that information. And I'm really excited to jump into the interview. But before we do that, I wanted to, as I normally do, read off a few of the reviews that have come in. I've got one from Brandon Clay who says, "Great work. Bringing energy, creativity, and practical help to such a needed area. I love how you're taking your experience and passion into the new podcast. Keep up the great work, Jeremy. By the way, love the sound effects." And Glenn Leibowitz says, "Valuable advice for our country's heroes. Jeremy has launched a groundbreaking podcast that aims to help the men and women of the U.S. Army. Jeremy is upbeat, energetic, and clearly on a mission to help our nation's heroes rebuild their lives and careers." And Ryjack CL says, "Very helpful podcast. This is a great resource for veterans. It highlights different nonprofits that help veterans. Thanks for taking the time to create the podcast, Jeremy." Thank you for all of the great reviews. And if you have not left a review, I invite you to go over to veteranpodcast.com/iTunes, where you can leave a review, and it will help to boost us up in the rankings and help more veterans to find this podcast. And also, as you just heard, I will be reading it on a future episode of the podcast. So head on over there. By the way, I also wanted to point out that this is a very special episode this week, because not only is this episode 18 of the Veteran Resource Podcast, it is also episode 13 of the Veteran Artist Program podcast, also known as the VAP podcast. So this will be the VAP podcast's first guest host episode, which is really cool. And the reason why we're doing this is because not only is this episode about the Madison Rising Shows for Heroes nonprofit, but it is also talking with Dave Bray, who himself is a veteran artist. I think it fits great for both podcasts, and I talked to the host, BR, of the Veteran Artist Program podcast, and he thought it was a great idea for us to put this on both of our podcasts. So that's exactly what we're doing. Madison Rising, America's most patriotic rock band, is on a mission to reignite authentic American culture through great rock music. Since the release of their first album in 2011, the band has worked tirelessly to create an entirely new genre of music, patriotic rock. Combining a brilliant classic rock sound with the inspirational tributes to our men and women in uniform, it is clear that this band is on a mission to not only make great music, but to also send a message that American culture is alive and well. Most recently, the band released their completely remastered album, American Hero R.E.D. The album is proudly dedicated to the men and women of our armed forces and first responders for their sacrifice and selfless dedication to the land of the free and the home of the brave. Madison Rising strives to create music with meaning, songs that are about something, our military, sacrifice, freedom, liberty, gratitude, and living the American dream. Lead singer Dave Bray was a recruit chief petty officer in basic training, a master at arms in A school, and was awarded the honor of top dog in Field Medical Service School. He served in the U.S. Navy as an 8404 FMF corpsman for the 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines, stationed out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I really think you're going to enjoy this episode, so let's jump right into the interview. Dave, welcome to the Veteran Resource Podcast. How you doing today?
Excellent, sir. Thank you again for having us on. It's a pleasure, and we always appreciate when somebody steps forward and helps out with Madison Rising. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So I listened to the first few episodes of my podcast to kind of see what I needed improving on. And I noticed that I was saying stoked a whole lot. So I've been very cognizant of that, and I've been trying not to use it too often. But I feel like I have to pull that off the shelf today because I really am stoked to be talking to the lead singer of America's most patriotic rock band. This is awesome.
Well, I think you found a brand there. I think that Stokes could work in your platform as well as probably maybe a t-shirt company. I don't know, man. I think you're on the right track to something there. So
maybe I'll keep using it.
Yeah, there you go. Make that your deal. Everybody's got to have a hook, right?
All right, Dave. Well, I want to start off by getting into some background on you. What were you like growing up?
To my parents, I was probably a little bit of a terror, and then I was. Listen, I had free reign. I had my first job when I was 11 years old, so I was sort of gone a lot of times. I pretty much figured that I knew everything in the world by the time I was about 9. Realized I needed a source of income. Started delivering papers, and actually moved up to cutting cabbage on a local produce farm. And I don't know if you've ever cut cabbage, but picture this: a bunch of kids behind an 8-foot wagon, and you got to just lop them off with a knife and toss a cabbage like a shot put 8 foot over into a wagon for the first 5 hours of the day. So, I mean, hard work, a lot of hard work, a lot of, intensive, I worked. I've always had good work ethic. It's something that I think I was sort of instilled in me, but I've always been into music as well. So, I mean, the two sort of, it's kind of rare to put the two together, but I give a lot of credit to my Gemini twin that, enables me to do sort of both, not be sort of like I guess a loser and a musician. So, try to be a hardworking musician, try to be somebody with ethic and, qualities and virtues in life that maybe don't always translate over in most people who find music as something that they want to do. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that is a great combination to have. Do you have any ties to the military?
Well, I come from a naval family. My brother was enlisted Navy. My dad.
Okay.
Yep, my dad was enlisted Navy. It was kind of the thing to do in the house, so I figured I thought that was pretty much what you had to do. But all in all, I knew that joining and serving in the military was going to give me certain qualities that I felt sort of lined up with the kind of person I was. I was into sports, and I loved the fact that it had structure, and if you worked hard, you got to play. So that's kind of a lot of the same form in the military, and the structure of how that works is, the guys who work the hardest get to play the most. And that's kind of where, you look at guys like Navy SEALs, although their job is the most dangerous job in the world, they work their butts off to get there, and, they get to play with all the fun toys, I guess you could put it that way. So that's my tie to the military. But I also have, and I'm looking at his picture right now, an uncle. His name was Wynn Jones, and a great uncle, actually. And there's a picture I keep in my house of him in a parade in a 1930 some odd. I'd say it's probably could be a Ford. I don't know, man. It's old. But he's in this parade, and he lost his leg because he was in the Battle of the Argonne Forest.
Oh, wow.
And he hid out in a well. He was wounded. He jumped in a well, and they had figured him for dead, lost, missing, gone. But he hid in a well for days, and then he finally was able to signal for help and got out, and then he lost his leg. And I guess the way that he was sitting in the well, he used his dead leg to keep himself out of the water, which is just crazy to me. But I guess there's parts of that in my bloodline and my history everywhere. There's always been somebody who's either served or, is serving currently.
The Navy was always the plan for you?
It kind of was, and then it kind of wasn't. I wanted to be a SEAL before my brother even thought about joining the Navy. We were two brothers, spent a lot of time in the woods and the fields around my house, and which it translated into a lot of, play guns, wars, that kind of stuff, which translated later and developed into BB gun battles, which later turned into some less than honorable things in the middle of the night that we did to passing by cars and other stuff. But anyway, we had a pretty, again, it was a pretty lax childhood. We were allowed to kind of come and go as we pleased to wreak whatever havoc we possibly could throughout the days and the nights. But it was all mostly in good fun and nothing that was really going to severely hurt anyone. It was all just done to see how much we could get away with and not get caught. So if we
Right.
could get the fire police in the neighborhood, or the one cop that we had fired up to turn his lights on and chase us around through a cornfield, we'd like that kind of thing. So, we were just like, again, we were like little mini sort of hostiles, I guess, to this, and everybody knew who it was because there's only like 10 kids in my, there was maybe 500 or 600 people within a 20-mile radius. So, I mean, I grew up in the smallest little dirt town in Pennsylvania you could possibly find, called Jefferson. So a lot of farms, a lot of hard work, that kind of thing. But yeah, always wanted to do something in the Navy, something to do with guns. I ended up going down the medical route. I tested really well. I was going to do the nuclear program, but decided, because I was colorblind, that was kind of decided for me, that I would do medicine. And I thought, if I can actually do something with medicine, that would be really cool. So I later on, that turned into me becoming an EMT out of Naval Hospital Charleston, which later turned into me going to Field Medical Training Battalion and Camp Johnson. And I graduated as their top dog out of 170 kids in the class. I can say kids, but they're all ranks. And that transfers you, basically teaches you combat medicine and teaches you some of the structure about the Marine Corps. And a lot of people don't know this, but the Marines are supplied by naval personnel for everything that has to do with the medical side. So it's all supplied by the United States Navy. And that's basically where I finished out. I finished out with the Marines, 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines out of Camp Lejeune. And I was with the sniper teams. I was with Staple Platoon. So again, I got to fulfill the dream of creeping around in the woods, which I was already pretty good at, and shooting guns. So it was good for me.
Nice. And going back a step, you said that you were musical growing up. Were you singing at an early age?
Yeah, I was. In kindergarten, we went like a pre-K thing at this church, and the kids they used to make us sing, and we actually did like little programs with a lot of the old sort of hymnal classics and God Bless America and that kind of thing. So I really got used to singing with other people, and then I was in my church choir, and I really just enjoyed singing, but I didn't want to do it in school because I was also kind of the jock kid a little bit. So it was just I didn't want to join the school choir, but there were other kids that played football. It just wasn't for me. I was really into the rock, metal kind of scene. I liked my music loud, and I don't know, for some reason singing in the choir once I got into high school didn't seem like it was something that was going to go well with being a rock and roller. So I ended up joining the quote unquote garage band.
Nice.
And we rehearsed for a talent show that was at the end of the year, and I played Pearl Jam Alive, which is still one of my favorite songs, but can't ever listen to that song without thinking about that day. And then that was it, man. I was off to the Navy, and while I was in the Navy, the guys used to send me tracks of the stuff that they were working on, and I would write songs while I was in the military. And once I got out, I think I had a gig the third day I was out of the Navy. I was playing in a bar locally. So that's
oh,
where,
wow.
Yeah, that's where it all kind of started. We were ready to go, and I'd been doing music kind of on and off ever since. I was in the restaurant business for a while, and then I got into logistics and trucking, which ended up turning into getting into warehousing. And I was actually ended up once again building tanks for BAE Systems. And I was, I was a parts guy. I was just running parts for different areas on the line, and we were building the Bradleys and the RG-33s, the MRAPs, the PIMs, which is like the mobile howitzer, and the 88s, which is the tank that tore down Saddam Hussein. I don't know if you remember that, but it's basically like a giant tank tow truck. And
oh yeah.
we used to build those, and I ended up getting laid off, and I ended up having total ankle replacement surgery, and I started just looking for ways to do and make money other ways than with my body. So I started getting back into music, and with one leg up in the air, found out Madison Rising was out there doing something patriotic and rock and roll, and I love those two things. And I told you, my Gemini spirit, man, it's tough to find those two elements in life, but I loved it. I love the idea, and we've been at it for the last 5 years.
That's great. Dave, a lot of members of the Veteran Artist Program, they find that they have to put their art or their creativity on hold while they're in the military. Did you find that was the case for you as well?
It wasn't that I had to put it on hold. It was just, I told you, I'm a commitment guy. So when I'm into something, I commit fully to that. And that's the kind of I just put it on. I put it on the side voluntarily. It wasn't something that I needed to do. It was something that I wanted to do. And when you're spending so much time in the field, like the sniper teams, like I said, we spent, weeks. We're the first ones in, the last ones out, and doing all the, the forward reconnaissance and that kind of thing. So when guys go in the field and the grunts go in the field, they go in for a week or whatever, and then they come back out. I'm talking about workups and training, and then we've already been there for weeks at a time and leaving a week after. And it was just, it wasn't that I had to put it on hold, but and again, when I had time to myself, I would sit and listen to the tracks that the guys would send me, and it was an outlet. It helped. It helped to, release some of the woes in life when you're a young man and you're kind of growing up and you feel like you're kind of alone. Music is a pretty good source of healing, and
Absolutely.
It just really helps. It really does shape who you are, though.
And so the band Madison Rising was started in 2011. Do you feel that it blew up pretty quickly?
Listen, man, I've been in music. I've been in music for, well, since I will say that I was in seriously since I got out of the military. So that's I was 22. I'm 40 now. So 18 years. And I've worked most of that time just as a weekend warrior musician. I never tried to actually fully get and totally dive into it, because there's just the business itself is so difficult, and you have to be so good. And I don't want to say I gave up on music, but I knew that it was something that was never going to pay the bills until I realized what Madison Rising could be. And then I saw that, and I was like, you know what? This is something that, I'm not, lugging gear in and out of a smoky bar at 2 a.m., you know what I mean? It's something that I can be proud of. It's a family man band that, is awesome. And it's a totally different way to go about the business that I had been missing for years. And I put a lot of gratitude towards Rich Magradician for that, because it was his concept and how to go about making a patriotic rock band and putting the elements together of talk radio and Fox News and all the stuff that he does is a vital part of us. He's the fifth Beatle, you know what I mean? He's vital, and his idea for getting us to where we are has worked so far. And I would say, yeah, we have blown up considerably, and people are actually starting to follow our business model, because it's just so competitive out there that the more avenues that are available for music and for musicians to do work, the better. So that we found ours, we found our niche, we found our sort of genre, if you will, and we've been sort of trailblazing for the last 5 years, and it's really helped.
Yeah, I would say. You guys have 6.5 million hits on the YouTube video for the Star Spangled Banner, which, by the way, I think might be my absolute favorite rendition of that ever.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. Here's the thing. It's never going to go away. It's always something that's going to be out there for people. I love that aspect. I love the fact that we can be musicians. We can do something that's positively engaging, a community and a generation. And just like Jimmy, Jimmy's been gone forever, but his rendition still plays. They still crank it up at ball games. So it's like, that if you can do that for America, America never forgets. They always, and they show their respects during, 4th of July. I think it got 300,000 views just over the last week of 4th of July. It was crazy. I was watching the numbers, just blown away. So
yeah, that's great.
It's sort of iconic, because that song has stood people up out of their seats for decades, and now people get to stand up out of their seats and throw their fists in the air and be proud to be Americans again. I think it's pretty spectacular. I'm very, very proud of it.
Yeah, I grew up on rock and roll and metal, Metallica and Anthrax and everything like that, and the feeling that you would get listening to rock music, it just kind of picks you up out of your seat, like you're saying, and it makes you aggressively excited. And when you pair that with patriotism, I think you guys stumbled onto something that is the perfect combination there.
I agree. I totally agree. And this is sort of just, I look at all the things that have happened, and looking back, the old hindsight 2020, but you look at what's happened sort of in the country and with this band, and I look at my life just in general. I have 2 young sons, and watching them grow and seeing them in the backseat of the car rocking and rolling to Madison Rising is just the coolest thing to me. Sort of like watching your son, do something that you sort of helped help them get them into it. You know what I mean? It's one of those moments in history that you don't forget easily, and it's a blessing, man. We're very blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I wanted to get into now Madison Rising Shows for Heroes.
Sure.
You guys started a nonprofit organization, which you don't hear about a lot or any organizations like yours. Can you tell me how that got started?
So Shows for Heroes was an idea. Again, this is our manager, Rich. He's the sort of, I say, the mastermind or the genius behind the way that we've decided to market ourselves and how we decide to, and what we decide to do with our music. After the Star Spangled Banner sort of went viral, or when we put it up, we continuously have gotten countless emails from people saying, hey man, this song has changed the way that I think about America. This song has changed my life. And then we started to get a lot more emails from veteran and military-based communities, people saying that, hey, is there any way you can stop into, Myers, Oklahoma and play for, these 300 guys that, they're all veterans and, they're between the ages of 25 and 70 and they love your music. It's the one thing they can all decide on that they love and blah, blah, blah. So we kept getting these emails, and last year, I think we did, I don't want to say like 8 or 10 extra shows that were basically out of our pocket, kindness of our hearts. Yeah, we'll come play for you guys. Absolutely. You guys are the reason that we have the right and the ability to do what we do in this country. And obviously being a veteran for myself, I'm, soft heart in that area, because I know it's tough. So anyway, we would get a bunch of emails, and we would try to do the shows and do the shows for free. And basically what happened was we kept getting more emails, and people are like, well, hey, you played for Myers, Oklahoma, American Legion. Can you come play for us? We're like, it just sort of started building and building and building. And we got to the point where just logistically out of pocket, it was just way too expensive. So we did a crowdfunder, and we raised some dollars. We got to do a few more shows, and it helps, you know what I mean? And it helps when you see these guys after a show, we stand and we hang out, we talk to them, we trade stories and drink a beer or whatever. You see these guys, and it's like, they genuinely get it because they lived it. You know what I mean? They were up to their knees in rice paddies, literally.
Right.
These guys from the Vietnam area that nobody's really written any really good music for them over the last, decade or two. And when they hear Madison Rising, they hear the spirit. Their youthful spirit sort of in it. And I think that's why we connect with people of all ages and all backgrounds. It's just, there's something synergistic about how our music and our style and what we do. It's just very simple. It's just rock music, but it's sung with absolutely as much reverence to the country and the veterans and as much passion as possible. And I think that they get that. They attach to it.
It translates well.
Yeah, it does. So Shows for Heroes we talked to some other friends who had a nonprofit 501c, and basically we took the idea and asked them, is this something that we could do, because it genuinely would help us to play more shows for more veterans a year. And I was like, this is basically what I'm in it for anyway. You know what I mean? So I think that enabling us, if we make enough money to do 5 shows, great. If we make enough money to do 20 shows, awesome. If we make enough money to do 80 shows, then we become Shows for Heroes, Madison Rising Shows for Heroes becomes exactly what Madison Rising set out to do anyway. It's for the people, by the people, and I think that we can help other nonprofits with our nonprofit. We're an umbrella for entertainment and just getting people excited about their country, patriotism, and it's great music. So that's Shows for Heroes kind of in a nutshell.
And what types of groups can take advantage of this opportunity?
We've been pretty, I don't want to say lenient, but we've done some that weren't in the realm, but we're trying to stick to veteran, military, and also first responders, fire, and police. I mean, we've done obviously some that weren't in that realm. They were either doing something for their community or something else. But those are the general sort of base elements that enables people to be a part of Shows for Heroes, or if they want to show Shows for Heroes. That's why we did what we did. It's for the people that wear that flag or have worn that flag on their sleeve. It's it gets really dicey, and the slope gets a little slippery when you start saying, here's a free show, and then all of a sudden, there's people out there that just try to take advantage, and
Right.
it's, you got to kind of take it with a sigh and a little bit of grain of salt. But it's, in general, those are the elements that we are doing Shows for Heroes for.
Gotcha. And all of the money from that comes from donations, or does it come from other places?
Well, we've actually gotten donations from other 501s. We've,
Okay.
portions of our proceeds go to it, obviously, to help us get out to the shows. I mean, if there's no money in Shows for Heroes, we just go, and it sort of, we're doing Shows for Heroes, but where's the money? There's none in there. So it's one of those deals where, again, we are the suppliers, but we feel as though what we do is a service, because again, people, veterans, military, they leave our shows, and it's an affirmation point for them, because some of these guys, people that are suffering from post-war, mental battle scars, some of these guys live life in a question. What I did right? Do I deserve to be here? Should it be celebrated? And we as a nation need to embrace these men and women and say, yes, you've fought for freedom. You fought under that flag, and you are as much, if not more, of American for doing so. So that's something that we do as far as a band. We provide that service, that affirmation to these groups, to these people. Some of them wounded physically, some of them wounded mentally, and just in general, to say thank you and to pay our respects for what they've done.
And how can people get involved in helping out this organization?
Well, if you want to just find out more about Shows for Heroes, it's Madison Rising, showsforheroes.com. And
okay.
Yep, you can just go there, or just Google Shows for Heroes Madison Rising, and you can find out more. If people want to give, if people want to help, obviously you know what you're getting. You're getting great patriotic rock music. You're getting a bunch of guys that love this country, probably a little too much, maybe even kind of weird for some people. They don't even understand. But we put our time and our efforts, and our money where our mouth is, and we deliver an amazing product, and it's great to watch people of all ages just come together one time for one common good thing, and that's to celebrate how amazing this country is and the last free nation on this planet. And it's just to watch people come together, and sometimes it takes me a while to break them down, but I'll get them one way or another. I will get you with your fist in the air, and I will get you with a flag in your hand. You will have a good time, I guarantee it.
Nice. And so for the organizations out there, I help out a lot of different veteran-focused nonprofits. So if they had some big show coming up, and they wanted to try to book you for their show, they would do that through the website as well?
Yeah, all the booking and information can be found at madisonrising.com. And if you want to go down the Shows for Heroes route, it's Madison Rising, showsforheroes.com. But everything's linked up to madisonrising.com either way, so you can find it there.
Okay, great. I'll make sure I put both of those in the show notes.
Cool.
And before we get into the final three questions, I was curious what advice you had for veteran musicians that were just now getting out of the military.
Well, write from your heart, man, and do what you do because you love to do it, and just keep doing it until somebody pays attention. And the great thing about Madison Rising is we don't have a huge label to back us. There's nobody putting us in front of people on television. We're not on any radio station, but we are threaded throughout the patriotic network of the communities in this nation. And we've done that by getting our butts in a van and touring this country relentlessly for the last 5 years and playing just about every show we possibly can play and that we can afford to play, and to get your name out there. As far as how we do what we do, and as far as getting some kind of momentum, I guess you can say, going, once you get it going, keep pushing. It's the hardest business in the world, and people are still only paying $1 for a song. I saw a meme the other day that said, if the price of music went up as much as the price of gas or something like that, we'd be paying $20 a song or something. But it also said $5 for a cup of coffee, which you're done with in 20 minutes, or $1 for a song that can change your life and last a lifetime.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, you know what I mean? You're getting so much for a $1 out of one song that the artists, we really don't even see much of that. I mean, it's a grind. It's a hard business.
That really puts it into perspective. Never thought of it that way.
Exactly. Exactly. And then we get bent out of shape when somebody's, you know who could change all this? Taylor Swift could change all this. If she just would jack her prices up and set the market, she's like the price of lobster. You know what I mean? It goes up and down. And if she started, charging $5 a song, she would still get the $5.
Oh yeah, people would still pay it.
But the rest of us would still be able to jack our prices up a little bit. But you know how it works.
The tide rises all boats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's get into the final 3 questions here. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, Dave. Who would you like to hear on a future episode of either the Veteran Resource Podcast or the Veteran Artist Program Podcast?
A friend of mine, I like the Veteran Artist thing. I think it's unique. And it, again, goes well with my Gemini spirit. But a friend of mine, he and his brother are in a band called American Hitmen, and they're very, very good. But they're also both Marine Corps veterans. And Dan Cord is a really, I think he's a great dude. He's well-spoken. And I think he's doing it for the right reasons as well. So Daniel Cord from the American Hitmen, if you can get him on, I think that would get some people tuned in, and I'm sure he would appreciate it if he heard me asking for that. So yeah.
Excellent. We'll reach out to him for sure. Okay, what upcoming project has you fired up right now?
So we recently teamed up with another group, and the lady who runs it, her name is Sheila Stevens, and she's a friend of ours who has started out, basically it's a project called the Valkyrie Initiative. And she's basically going to create a camp for post-traumatic stress veterans, and the men and women are going to be able to go there. They do hunting, fishing, outdoor, but they also incorporate things like yoga, agriculture, raising livestock. It's sort of just overall building just a sort of very open, airy, spacey, freedom sort of initiative. It's a camp that these guys can go to for a couple weeks and just clear their brain, clear their heads. And I'm really stoked about her coming to us because she said, Dave, I want you to write a song for this purpose. And when I get into that mode, I really try to find what are the true elements that go into why this woman would call me to take on such a task, and then B, why is she really doing this? And it turns out that she has done a ton of research, and this was vital in the writing of the song, about what they call the hero gene. So in the mapping of the human DNA and the genome, they've actually found a similar trait that is only found in certain humans. Certain people have it, and usually those are the same people that will end up being firefighters, police, military.
Huh.
And I found that to be really, really cool. And I was like, wow, that's something else there,
Right.
And that was what inspired me, and I wrote a song called "Warrior Inside" because that's what, from the time they're a kid, they were still that person that is going to end up being that warrior, that fighter, that hero. It's that spirit it's mapped, it's coded in your DNA of who you are. So I thought "Warrior Inside" was a really, really cool idea for a song, and we've been playing it out for the last couple shows, and it's gone over really, really well. And I'm really stoked. We're gonna go record that in about a week or two.
Awesome. Final question. This is the brain stretcher here.
All right.
If you woke up tomorrow and you found out that somebody made an anonymous donation of $10 million to your organization,
Shows for Heroes,
what would you do with it?
Well, my wife does all the booking, and she does a lot of the logistics. So her and I would have a long talk and a conversation about how she's probably not going to see me for the next 5 years. And then we would start planning. I think that we would go into operations mode, just full on. We would need help. We would have to hire some extra helpers or volunteers. And we would have to plan out something really, really special, like something that would need to be maybe a reality show or something, but it would need to be significant. You know what I mean? It would have to be known that it was going on around the nation. And I think it would be really, really cool to document it and film it, because the stories and the people that I meet along the way and the hands that I shake, it's absolutely extraordinary. Listen, I've met I've met them all. I met, Donald Trump, Sarah Palin. I've met war heroes, Oliver North. I've met R.E.D, Gunny. I meet these people and I'm just in awe of what they've done for our nation and for Americans in general. And I think it would be really cool not just to dive into those people because they already have a platform, but I also think it would be really cool when I shake the hand of a guy who's done 6 tours and, lost his leg, and he's sitting there and he's telling me, you guys have changed the way I look at life. I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? I've done that. Those are the stories that I want people to hear. I want people to understand that Madison Rising is more than just a rock band touring the country. We're promoting American way of life. It's something that is just slipping through our hands as we speak. Just right now, we're losing pieces and chunks and ginormous hunks of what America truly is, and that's the people, man. And you see these guys and the looks on their faces. We have a flag that we tour the country with, and I get it out and I have veterans hold it on stage, and then we all fold it together after it's over. And there's been the tears of some of the strongest, toughest, most badass dudes you've ever seen falling on that flag. And those are the stories that I want people to hear. That's what I want people to know and remember Madison Rising for. And that's what we would do with 5 Mil. Would just go heal, man. Go heal people.
That's pretty powerful indeed. And I can't let you go without, because we had a little talk pre-interview here.
Uh-oh.
And I mean, I was a huge fan before, but I need you to tell everybody, who's your favorite football team?
I'm actually a Bills fan. And
yeah, go Bills.
I know you're a Bills fan as well. Yeah, I was surprised. We find each other in the darkness every once in a while. We're like, we need bioluminescent or something to wave like the Bills signal or something.
Yeah, really.
So yeah, I mean, there's very few of us out there. So when I do actually find one, it's unique. Yeah, I think you got to be a special kind of person to be a Bills fan because we all know how it ends every time.
But everything's different this year.
Yeah, everything's different. it's all going to change. Although we could, we could keep getting rid of guys like Marshawn Lynch. I think that would keep us where we are. Just in the darkness, in the cold, all alone. The Bills fans.
Still a fan.
Yep, me too. For life.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to respect your time here. Thank you so much for this interview, Dave. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you. Be well, God bless, and stay the course. Finish the fight and never surrender, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Peace.
All right, so what did you think of that interview? I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a tweet at ParisJ13 and let me know what you think. And also, if you're listening to me on the VAP podcast, let me know what you thought of having this guest host episode. Is it a cool idea? Is this something that BR should be doing in the future every once in a while? Let us know. Also, make sure you check out the show notes at veteranpodcast.com/018, where not only are you going to find out more information about Madison Rising and Madison Rising shows for heroes, but I'm also going to put a video there of Madison Rising playing the Star Spangled Banner, which is just so incredible. You're going to love it. Now, I also have a really cool treat for you. I'm going to close out the show today with a full song by Madison Rising for you to listen to. I was very generously given a handful of different songs from Madison Rising that I could play during the podcast today. One of them stood out, and in honor of the 4 Marines that were killed in Tennessee, we're going to play this one.
This song goes out to the men and women who exemplify the words honor, courage, and commitment. They are the few. They are the proud. They are the United States Marines. Semper Fi, my brothers and sisters. Semper Fi. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.